How y'all doing? Start a little early on this one. This go around, we're gonna do a brown sugar instead of a raw cane sugar. Go figure, that's just all I had left in the actual like pantry. But we're gonna go on to box two. Got box two here. After learning some things, like even zesting, right? As far as zesting kind of things, or what the flavor of zest. But we're on to box two. Remember, two boxes landed. Two boxes landed at the door, right? I will say this: I won't go into I won't go into the electric juicer or the automatic juicer yet, only because we still haven't really figured out what's produced, right? And I'm saying that as far as like on a manual scale. So if you're not rendering more from an automatic process than a manual one, you can't really pinpoint it until I get down to the last squeeze, right? So, but it's been interesting though. Like I said, it's just more or less trying to find the balance of technique alongside balance of I haven't like I said, I haven't had enough to look at the difference in ingredients or anything like that, but the balance of technique, ratios, and I'd probably say temperature. Like it took me a second to realize, but this particular what's the word I'm looking for? This particular adventure, right? Because an adventure it has become. In this particular adventure, I'm starting to realize that there are things that you drink up, there are things you drink down, and there are things you drink on, right? And I'm still trying to figure out what the delineation of that is, whether it be things that you drink up or cold versus things that you drink down being hot and things you drink on being warm temperature. But it's one of those things because like for me when I kept trying I kept trying batches because trust me, like I said, if there's anything, if you want to ask me what I've been drinking on for the last week, it's gonna be lemonade. I still look and I say this as a like yay, but like a oh no, like I don't have lemonade anywhere else now because I just the palette of it is different. But I already like this right here is already another two pitchers, and another 2 gallons of lemonade. And like I said, I've finally got rid of the idea that you gotta eat every single piece of dog food, in a food lab kitchen. There comes a point you can't eat everything. It's just, get the taste that you need and move on. Like I'm kind of happy. Like the last batch, I didn't measure it, which is unfortunate. But the last batch, like half of it was set aside because it either soured out or I ruined it or there was no feasible way to bring it back, right? Like when I say feasible, I'm talking about like within the space I have, right? Like I thought about doing the 5 gallon. I thought about going to the five. I have a 5 gallon sports bucket and use for another project. But I could either get that one or get another one. I decided against it. That's just so much. That's just so much lemonade for one person. I'm saying, you know what I mean? That's just so much lemonade for one person to try to evaluate the entire time. But I will say it's been helpful in being able to, spend time with oneself. Because I'm telling you, you get something sour like this right here is the zest sour. Yeah, this is the zest. Like this, it's sour. Like you can, like I can smell how sour it is. It's just not even and like I said, the sourness of the straight up zest on the lemon. Because I didn't even realize that when you cut into a lemon, which like I said, hold on, let me show y'all what I've learned thus far. Right, let's pick out a decent one. Right, so when we have a lemon, cut this sucker in half. So you see that this right here is the juice of the lemon, right? And we got all the seeds that come in there. But right here, this white part, that white part is called pith. And you don't want pith, right? Pith away the pither. So that pith right there, right, is the pain that gives you that tart feeling. And then the ending though is what gives you that sweetness. And so but that yellow rim compared to the pith or compared to the white center from the juice, which is in the center, right? So basically we want this yellow, right? We want this side of the cookie. We want that cream gone, and then we want the other side of the cookie, right? as far as if it was an Oreo of such. But um, that pith though, if you get too much of that pith in your zest, if you get too much of it, you'll get that tart taste. So the real MVP of it is being able to, you know, get the gold and leave without the pit of the situation. But this right here, like I said, right there behind me, this right here, I want to put aside because it's still a lemon, right? They might be able to use it in this one, but this one right here is So I decided I had some old, and I do say old, right? And I'm saying that as far as even looking at the shelf life of some of these things. But a part of me was like, oh, I want to get so excited. I want to nail down the recipe. I want to nail down that. I get getting excited about stuff that doesn't matter, right? And I'm saying that as far as, uh, you can't really get excited about the glitter until you have the base of the float, right? Get all excited about the glitter, you'll spend your whole budget, or you spend your whole time budget or your whole financial budget on glitter, and then you be like, okay, well, where's the float? Someone buys a float, which true story, by the way, as far as being assessed. Once upon a time, I was the executing power of a float. So we had a budget, we had a time, we had a team, right? Well, come to find out, the budget got spent on everything that goes on the float, but not the float platform itself, like the actual trailer, the actual wheels, the whole thing. Like, so we have a float that won't float. Oh man, you want to talk about a time in a way that made me kind of go like, okay, well, we need to activate powers now, right? Get on the phone, call Day Day, call Pookie, call Rhonda, like get everybody on the phone right now. Get everybody on the phone right now and find out where we can get this trailer, because we have all this glitter and no float. Long story short, we got a float with no glitter, but better to have a float with no glitter than a glitter and no float. But before we start going down that line of things, see, and that's the other thing too. I didn't realize how staining food is. I can't even say lemons. Food. I didn't realize how staining food was, to think like, oh, like, wow, that's a powerful color. But I mean, I guess why not though? If you spent all that time to cultivate and grow as this fruit and be this color, of course you would still be that color, right? Which, even though that's what's kind of getting me about this go around here, is like I said, and that's the other thing too. The other approach I took in realizing how to measure the water, because that was always a thing that kind of, as excited as I was about things, all coming together, right? As excited as I was about things coming together, I still kind of, like I said, lost track in the simpler sites. Huh. Excuse me. But like I said, it's just a food lab, just a home brew, something to give a think on. Like I said, now we're gonna go into the next batch of lemons to start squeezing on, because now that we know what we know, right? Now that we know what we know, how we know, and what it's gonna take, it seems pretty interesting. The one thing I did do though is I got vanilla ice on duty. That's the other part too, right? So I was just kind of running that, and so when it comes to trying to do stuff too, part of it is real estate. Going back to, like I said, that 5 gallon jug kind of thing, or making a batch sizes that are worthy of being a batch, right? And being like, okay, that's a good batch. We're gonna measure off that batch, ratio off that batch, yada yada yada. Whatever needs to happen off that batch. But one thing I did do is I took that same lemon sugar, and ended up freezing it, right? And so I think that's actually going to be very helpful. The only thing is that because it's not, it's more sugar. It's more sugar than it is zesting. So it has the same consistency or the same properties as a popsicle, you know? Which, if you mess around and find out, right? If you mess around and find out, you'll realize that that's all it is, right? That's all popsicles is. If I would have stuck your classic, I think they even told you how to do that, right? As far as taking some juice, putting it in the ice tray, and then putting plastic over it. Which, you look back now, and that was always that instruction that you kind of like, oh, I don't need that instruction, right? But you kind of do looking back, because the toothpicks, when you put the plastic over, the plastic is what holds the toothpicks in place for them to stay toothpicks, right, and not slumped to the side. Like the plastic holds that foundation for the toothpicks to be glitter. Going back to this doggone glitter, I wrote a whole joke earlier today on glitter. So when I get to test that one out, I'll definitely come back and tell you guys how that one came out to be, because it was one of those shower thoughts. So and when I rewatch this, I'll know what it is, and I'll be cracking up. So if you're watching with me, just know it's an inside joke in a way that it'll be outside soon. I'm still stirring this because it's still hot. The only thing that kind of makes me concerned with brown sugar in versus, right, in versus or in comparison to just raw cane sugar, yeah, pure cane sugar, is that brown sugar has a molasses, or how I understand it, right, is it has a basis of molasses, that what makes it sticky, right, which makes that sugar stickier, or it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily stickier, but yeah, stickier. It's what makes it thicker. It makes it uh uh molasses flavor. What's the other sugar that I'm thinking of? Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that my music. I am enjoying music right now, but I want to make sure that it doesn't get. We're gonna see though. We're gonna see if it actually picks up on the phone or microphone. That's the other thing too. I'm still trying out dog food. We're still here, you know, getting all the glitches and bugs and squirrels out of here. Okay, we're still doing that. So, but I think it's fine. Like I can barely hear it from here. I know. Hold on, tangent squirrel. Give me 1 second. Squirrel. There even comes a point too that I was like, I'll change the station on itself too. It ended up not being Sicko, that artist I was talking about, or that house artist I was talking about. It wasn't Sicko. It was Sick Kick. So I'm gonna put that back on. But let's fire up some more water. I know I'm gonna need it to do some more testing. Like I said, this right here is kind of what I'm looking for. I already have some water in there. Like I said, I want to kind of start batching it and being able to do a comparison and actually make uh an educated change to the recipe, and not just let's try this, and then because after so many let's try this, you kind of have to narrow down what this actually is. At what point does cereal become soup? At what point is a hot dog a sandwich? At what point is a grilled cheese no longer a grilled cheese? And I'm saying that as far as these are all the petty internet fights, right, that society has in regards to imagination and creativity and food and this that, and the other. And that's why for me, I'm taking on the goofier challenge of just trying to create a consistent lemonade. But I'm curious though. I am curious to see what difference of brown lemonade is versus the raw cane. And there's even another type of sugar that I picked up and researched. And I picked up sugar, and I think it was decent to pick up sugar, not on a bulk level, because it's not hard to get rid of sugar, but I can figure where lemons are gonna go before sugar does, despite the fact not having sugar in the cupboard, right? So I guess that's backwards, or that's in reverse. How should I say? No, but this is cane sugar, and this is turbinado, turbinado. There are some things that when it comes to the level of education, right, level of education, that you have in a space, and I'm not saying schooling. Not look, do not confuse education with schooling. They are different. Do not confuse knowledge and intelligence with education and schooling either. They are all different. All these things are different. If they were the same, they'd be called the same. They are not the same. What makes them different? Well, let's find out. For me, one of the things for an education, right, is knowing how to pronounce things, or knowing how things are pronounced, or knowing where things are called, right? And being able to speak intelligently or knowledgeably. I won't say intelligently. Everyone can find their own $2 word. What someone considers a $2 word, I wouldn't pay 10 cents for. You know what I mean? Long story, long story over short, right? I remember I had a buddy. We were this is another hijink shenanigan story, but the guy said via is a $2 word, and I said via is three doggone letters, and I see it every day in my email box. Like that's not a word in which elicits a response for me to say oh. But in all actuality, no word is until it doesn't sound like a word, right? Until it doesn't sound like a word. When it doesn't sound like a word, that's when my interest peaks to be like, aha, aha, aha. How much to pay for knowing this word? And honestly, it's just opening up a doggone dictionary, which I've had to do a lot more in the last in the last 3 weeks than I have in a long time. So that's not a complaint. That's just a celebration of realizing, like, hey, when you're in a space, you have to actually know what things are called and how they're pronounced. So, but that kind of gets me going though. I actually had to pull out we actually had to pull out stops today. Where did I can't believe I lost my assistant. There you are. We actually started to get on clipboard, y'all. Okay? And I don't have my pen with me here. A pen is a part of your uniform. Lord. And you still gotta tell people to this day. You have to tell people every day. Whatever's important, whatever's important, whatever's important. You have to tell people every day. It's not something that they necessarily forget upon. You gotta tell them every day until they tell themselves every day. And then once they tell themselves every day, then they have to perform every day. And then once they perform every day and they see every day that they say every day what they seen, what you said, in the truth, they live. Right? But until then, you gotta tell them every day. A pin is a part of your uniform. And you'll still have those one. And there was that one character in the Army now, Pauly Shore. I really love that movie for the sake that it is. It was Pauly Shore, and I can't remember her name, but she was the same. She was the actress. Oh, that is gnarly. Sorry, this concentrate is leaving like a rim. It's just making me go like, see, that's this kind of stuff. Now, granted, that's plastic, and I'm not full of plastic. Okay, maybe not. It is 2024, but that's the kind of scary stuff that you'd be like, man, that goes inside you and stays inside you, or that's the kind of stuff that accumulates, and why water's important, yada yada yada. But before I get distracted, that movie it was Pauly Shore, Andy Dick, and I cannot remember her name. I don't know her name, but she was the voice actor for Peppermint Patty. Not Peppermint Patty, Patty Mayonnaise. Patty Mayonnaise. Both these people are named Patricia. Patty Mayonnaise from Doug, or the Doug series on Nickelodeon. Which I'm trying to think. I can't think of the cartoonist. I can't think of the cartoonist's name to save my life right now. I see Doug. I don't want to look it up, right? Aside the fact that my phone's right here. For I am millennial. We knew things before Google. I am older than Google. I can promise you I can figure this out, but I can't think of his name to save my life. I'll figure it out later though. I see him. I see, what I mean? Like I said, I see Doug. I want to say Mark Haven or Mark, not Mark Haven, but Mark something. But anyway, outside of that, in that movie, right? In that movie, Pauly Shore goes off to boot camp, because he's in the Army now, right? Hence the name of the movie, and his drill sergeant can't put up with him, like for not another week, And the thing is, he does it on purpose. Like, he annoys her on purpose, which is kind of what I wrote down even earlier. I had a whole skit in my head earlier today as far as realizing that some people are put in your life to politely frustrate you, and it's kind of interesting, right? It's kind of interesting to figure that someone is put in place, to politely frustrate you. It's kind of, and it's in the same regard and the same tongue in cheek as a speed bump, right? Like the speed bump is not like a speed bump is not meant to destroy your car. Right? It's not meant to destroy your car. It's meant to slow you down. It's meant to change your behavior, not be destructive. And that's what politely politely frustrate somebody is, right? And at a certain point, today, and at a certain point in the last, say, year or so, I've come to realize that that is the role and job of many um, clerks and desk clerks for IT nowadays, as far as being able to sit on the phone and just politely frustrate that person until the individual who can fix that problem shows up. And unfortunately, as for me, that's one of those things where I'm like, that's not fair, right? But knowing what I know, how I know, having experienced it myself, and getting frustrated with someone who's just as frustrated as I am when they come about something, um, yeah, it's the kind of stuff that makes me go, to politely frustrate me. So when they politely frustrate you, pray. And I'm saying pray because that's they're just doing their job, right? Rosie is just doing her job, and if you want to take it up with somebody, take it. Oh, what was his wife's name? George Jetson. I'm trying to think. George. It was George Jetson. It was George. Excuse me. Was it George, Janet, and Elroy? Yeah, I think it's George, Janet. No, George, Janet. No, is it Judy or was it Judy Jetson? Yeah, I think it was George and Judy Jetson, and then maybe Janet. I think Janet was the daughter, and then Elroy, and then the dog was Cosmo, right? Because Cosmo, Dino, and Scooby Doo, as far as Hanna Barbera cartoons. I haven't. I just love cartoons, y'all. It's just one of those things. Like I said, it's cartoons is a what's the word I'm looking for? Going back to being polite, right? Which is what Mr. Cortez mean. If you follow me here, tragically, and you follow my sponsors, that's the realm and writing of Mr. Cortez, right? Cortez, it means polite. So there was the whole skit and faction, right, of a politeness. But like I said, all cartoons are just polite ways to express political ideas. Same thing with sports. They're very polite ways, and I say polite in a way that they're not offensive, right? They're not offensive means to denote a stance, right? I wouldn't call them defensive either, but they're not offensive. They're passive, right? They're not active ways of discussion. But most humor being like that, that's what it is. Excuse me. No, but I actually had to bring out my whole clipboard though. And going back to knowing how to pronounce things or what things are called, it's it's tragic to think that I don't know the phonetics of, let's see, uh it's the verse of the day, and I like I said, I don't know how to pronounce the book, but it's uh Ecclesiastes. That's not how you pronounce that at all. Ecclesiastes. But we're in chapter 5, verse 2. Do not be quick with your mouth. Do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven, and you are on earth. So let your words be few. So it's just a matter of knowing where you stand, right? For where you stand will determine where you sit at this table. And right now, we are not at the table. Right now, we are at the counter making more lemonade. Hopefully, though, when I come to see what this looks like by the time we get done with this is gonna take a second. We're gonna have to squeeze these out. So let's get to do that instead of being a um, clipboard homie. All right, this always gets me too. Yeah, people walking around in a certain area and like, what are you doing with that clipboard? It's my clipboard. I brought it. Where'd you get that clipboard? I brought it from home. You can't have a clipboard. I can't have a clipboard. Where in the rules does it say that I can't have a clipboard? And then sure enough, they pull it out the side of their mouth or they pull it out the side of their neck. And that's me being polite. They pull it out their side of the neck about external uses of tools and things like that, and a clipboard being one of them. I was just like, okay, I it's the funniest when they make rules for you. It's the funniest when they make rules for you, not for everybody. Not for everybody, no, and I know the difference. I know the difference. I feel the difference. I see the difference. When they make rules for you, it's really interesting, right? Or it gets interesting after a while because it's a matter of justifying the nature of the rule, or nature of the policy, which is one thing I kind of laugh at too. When I'm trying to think, who was I talking to? Who was I talking to? And it might have been the one of 12 friends I have, but I'm trying to think how we got started on the subject of policy, right? And the difference between a policy and the difference between a law and policy. One of my favorite pet peeves, and I say favorite because that's the attitude I want to keep with this particular subject, but one of my favorite things to do, or favorite things, and I use favorite in jest, right? Is when someone says that's against the law. Okay, well, show me the law. Like that's against, when people's like that's against the law, or that's against the rules, or that's against this, right? That's against the policy. That's against, right? That's against. Everyone is really quick to tell you what they're against, right? They're usually they don't tell you what they're for, which is one reason why for being the positive attitude, right? Running towards something and what you're for, versus running not for something, or against something, or being against something, because it's something that you're against, you probably don't understand. That's why you're against it. Let me say it one more time. The thing that you are against, you're probably against it because you don't understand it. Because it's very hard to be against certain things. Now, certain things are just that's straight up. No, I'm against that. Right? Like a plane of gravity, I'm against that. But and even that's not true, right? Even gravity still works on the plane straight in the air. Gravity works on the bird that flies. Gravity stays on as faithful as God. That's why when it comes a day that we drop something and it starts floating in the air, and I'm like, well, that's right, gravity is turned on, so be turned on. which which is another joke I had for that particular person, as far as just in gun laws and policy, and traffic laws and policy. To think, there's a difference between law and policy, and it's the matter of who's going to enforce that. Because if you have something in place, if you have a rule and no one enforces it, is it really a rule? No, it's a suggestion, and that's where the issue comes into play, right? Again, what was set in stone for me seems to be something of great freedom for everybody else. Like I said, I'm not saying me personally, right? Like the only time someone's ever gonna do something to me personally, be personally, I know. Like, you know what I mean? It's not a question of, is that about me? No, when it's signed, sealed, and delivered and addressed to you, you will know it, right? And that goes vice versa too. Like you will know it by name. But it was one of those as far as you trying to get on and get off over here, in a way to think like, why is that policy in place, right? Why is that rule in place? But yeah, let's put that clipboard down. Let's clean up our area here. And I think so. That's the one thing too. Like I said, when it comes to measuring, the one piece of equipment I'm going to get for the next time, probably within the next month or within the next week. Honestly, it's not that bad. Is a scale. Because for this particular batch of lemonade, which I need to put in the fridge before I start working on anything else, so that it has time. That fridge, man. When it comes to the people in the kitchen with you, this fridge, I I'm trying to think. Like, I can heat something up quickly, but I can't freeze something quickly. I think the only way you can really freeze something quickly is is dried ice. Is that fair to think? But even then, I think that's kind of what makes Frozo from The Incredibles, going back to cartoons. I kind of think that's what makes him so cool in itself. He's turning. He's not making fireballs. Fire is fairly simple. Fire is needy. Fire is actually very, very needy. Um, it needs air. It needs spark. It needs fuel. Trying to think. It needs fuel. It needs spark. It needs air. I feel like there's one more element fire needs to be fire, right? You need oxygen. You need a fuel. So, like, say, like a block of wood, right? Then you need a spark, and then you need a, I guess, ignition. which I mean I guess that's the form of plasma, or I think plasma is a state, kind of like ice versus liquid, or solid versus liquid versus gas. Plasma. I think that's the realm of those. Kind of like lava, because do you call lava a solid, or is lava a liquid, or is lava a gas? And I think I came down to being told it's plasma. Anywho, so while that's boiling out and through, what we can do though, what we can do is look at this again. While that's it's steaming up like it wants to tell me something. It's steaming up like it has something to say, but it's okay. Use this hot water to actually do some shade cleaning here, because like I said, these lemons do not show mercy to anybody in their tinting. Why are you still whistling? I guess that's my co-host to tell me to move on to the next topic, right? Because it's still going. What's what I got in here? Oh no, that one's an inside thought. We'll save that one for another day. Oh well, I will say that because it kind of reminds me of a buddy of mine. He just had a birthday yesterday, and I'm always very happy when it's easy to remember. It's like every day is a special day, right? Every day is a special day, but that's one of those ones where you kind of it's a nice what's the word I'm looking for? Checkpoint. The thing like it's May. Mayday, Mayday, it's May. Like it's May. It's I can't I Mother May I go crazy? No? Okay, like it's I can't believe it's May, right? Cannot believe it's May. But he he came to mind when I was even thinking about this though, but I usually I want to go to another one this month. Now that this month, I think I went last time I went I think was in March. Either March or February. It might have even been February that I went to might have been February that I went to Crab and Spice. Crab and Spice is a local seafood restaurant right here. That is not on the strip, and that is not Red Lobster. Right? We only have so many. We have quite a few. I know like Pier 88, Crab and Spice, Hot and Juicy out here is a crab place or a seafood place. But getting a really good piece of seafood, like a good piece of seafood. Aside the fact that we're in the desert, a lot of people out here just don't know how to season stuff in a way that makes you go like, that was food. That was food. That was food right there. No, a lot of them don't. This particular place, I won't. I can't say I remember the crab being all that. You know what I mean? But I do remember the atmosphere was really cool, and the trivia night that they hosted in that way, right? And the thing was, I went by myself, and rocked it, right? Rocked. They had three other teams out there with four, one with six people, and the prize was if you win trivia, right, you get half your meal off. So let me just tell you, I ate fat and I paid half price because that trivia was pretty decent. Like I said, and the way and format it had it with was pretty cool. I think I went on a Tuesday. Either went on a Tuesday or a Thursday. I can't. It was one of those days, but I really want to say it was Tuesday because I remember thinking to myself, I don't want tacos today, which is really a surprise. Usually, when it comes to like having your way, getting your way, being that way, I'm usually pretty straight strict with tacos, right? There is no such thing as a tragic Tuesday without tacos, and that Tuesday I just didn't do tacos. I got the cracking with the crabs, so it wasn't too bad. And like I said, for the pricing and everything, it wasn't too bad. So Crab and Spice trivia night is something, or game night is something I need to get back to. I know they got different ones out here in town too. It's not just Crab and Spice restaurants, but they also have it's like robot trivia or some odd. Of course, you find it along the ways of social media scrollings and things like that. But that's one thing that I did want to remind myself, or even just put out to anybody else, right? Like that, that's it's pretty good. Like I said, it's good. It's good fun, decent food, and the trivia. Actually, the trivia master, he's not that bad, or the presentation of the trivia is not that bad, and it's not the digital one, right? It's actually a host that you gotta use your brain, right? Like I said, I be millennial. I be older than Google. As far as like being able to figure something out or go about knowing what something is or is not, or having someone to call or flare on, or use your common sense. Just use your common sense, but common sense be not so common, because if it was common, oh, the rarity of knowing that common sense be. But these are things that I sit with and sit in thought, and like I said, and when you look at it from being a perspective of things you drink up versus things you drink down, this versus things you drink on. Right now, we're trying to drink up this lemonade so we can drink up some of this lemonade. I mean, I'm telling you, it's been a rabbit hole, but not one um that has been saddening. It's not, like I said, this rabbit hole has definitely been one that made me kind of go like, dang, I didn't even know lemons could get that far. And or I didn't know the science of lemons could even get that far. Like it's almost maddening. Which reminds me, I gotta buy chips for that. Oh man, I don't know why I even wrote this down, but that's something I saw that earlier today that someone was doing a game show. Squirrel, bird, look over there. I was seeing I was seeing a game show today that came on my feeds where the person they were able to reveal a prize with they were able to reveal. I'm just watching this pot boil as I speak, but they were able to reveal the prize with melting cotton candy. And I was thinking to myself, man, I I remember I remember the realm and headache of cotton candy, and I'm just not somebody who ah word of the wise. Nothing's worse than hurting yourself and you don't know how you hurt yourself. Like, and the thing is, I haven't met. Look, didn't do anything. Just lived, right? Just live and keep living. You'll hurt yourself. Which I wrote that down. Where's my clipboard? Didn't I not? Did I not? I sure did write that down. Just admit you hurt yourself. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why that's such a challenge. Self included. Self included. Like, just admit you hurt yourself, right? Like, people, and I say people because in my experience, right? I can only speak from my experience. Who can I speak for? Unless you give me power to speak for you, and I will speak for you if that's what you want me to do. Because Lord knows, sometimes you got to speak for the people in a way that allows other people to know I'm not playing with you. I'm not playing with you. You and who? Me, myself, and I'm not playing with you. But just admit you hurt yourself. Like I said, for me, I don't know why. I honestly, I think I ran too far, too quick, too sharp, too high, too soon, without stretching. without stretching. So we're gonna get our stretch on now. But yeah, just admit you hurt yourself. I feel like that's part of the issue, right? When it comes to um, people being able to foster a community of folks that love each other, because that's part of the honesty, right? That's part of the self honesty. I'm looking at this zest to see if it has any more in it, because see, a part of me feels like there's part of me feels like there's still food there, right? Like there's still something viable there. You know what? I think we're going to, because it's in the lid, right? We can definitely consider that, especially as we look down and further. So I'll put this to the side, and we got you in the fridge. Get you to the side. But yeah, if you just admit you hurt yourself, then it kind of you kind of already are halfway to healing yourself. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of already halfway there, because you have to admit that you're hurt. Because if you don't even register, right? If you don't even register pain, like pain has a purpose, right? Pain is meant to guide you guide you, right? Pain is meant to guide you. Pleasure is meant to guide you, right? So it's always one of those things of like, okay, stay away from pain and stay away from this immense pain and immense pleasure, because I feel like immense pleasure is just setting yourself up to have immense pain, because you'll never have that immense pleasure again, right? It's kind of like a highs and lows of one's head. But again, that's me talking out the side of my neck, not necessarily on any study or journal or official opinion of any sort, right? But when it comes to dictating me, myself, and I, whose opinion matters most? For myself, you know, it is, be is, to is, which is one reason why I kind of get a kick too. I had a lot of different people come to realize, like I said, within the last year, within this lasting year, because my rates went up, my personal rates went up for my business, and my business being one of a ghostwriting capacity, right? And it's not just, and the thing is, it's not just ghostwriting in the capacity of, say, memoirs and novels. It's also ghostwriting uh, for essays, ghostwriting for speeches, ghostwriting for jokes. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Speeches, jokes, presentations, anything that requires some more or some level of writing, right, or some level of literary mystique, which is where, like I said, it goes back to having to pick up the dictionary more times in the last, in the last 4 weeks or 6 weeks, maybe month and a half, that I have in a long time. Because when you start realizing that the 10-cent words just don't play the same way anymore, they just don't play the same way anymore, via the craziness that people's egos get in the way. So look at there, via and ego, these two big, fantastic words that are only 3 letters long. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. What should we get started though? Right? What should we get started on? Because now that we have gotten to this point, right, of being able to start cutting up, because and you gotta remember, right? We gotta remember, before we start cutting these things up, we gotta squeeze them out. So we're about to be rolling up on some lemons or squeezing up on some lemons before we get them done, because they've been in the fridge. So the one thing that I've come to realize in this learning, right, and the learnings of this activity, right? Hobby, activity, task is the nature of ingredients, and having like straight cold lemons, it is not, it doesn't keep the same, right? And I'm saying that as far as knowing that you have to chill it. I'm at that point where I realize there's no way to get around the temperature aspect or the temperature quality of lemonade, which is kind of going, like I said, it goes back to things, the difference and makeup of things that you drink up versus things you drink down versus things you drink on. And so right now, this lemonade has always been something that I would drink on it, and so to drink on something, right, to give you the difference, right? When I say drink up something, I mean that you're putting a straw to the bottom. You're putting the straw to the bottom, and you're drinking it up, right? Because you're always going to be drinking something down. That doesn't change, right? That's the directional. But to say like, okay, I'm going to take a straw and consume it from the bottom up, or like when you go to hot cocoa, you don't put a straw. Well, some people may, I don't, but you may put a straw in hot cocoa, but you don't put a straw in hot cocoa, right? Hot cocoa is sipped from the top down, right? And then for everything else, you basically have whiskey, and I'm just using whiskey as the shell of the being, right? But whiskey, you don't necessarily, you can drink whiskey up or you can drink whiskey down, but the thing about whiskey is it has to sit, right? Like they're like, and I'm saying that for that particular thing, but that's any kind of drink, right? There are some drinks where you want them to sit, or you want them to marinate, or you want, like, they're not meant to be consumed. They're meant to be consumed, but they're not meant to be consumed in the same fashion, right? The same way. Excuse me. So with this lemonade, I've had different variations where I will have the highest point of sugar, right? The lemonade will be right here, but when I put water on top of it, what it does, it'll dissipate, or not is, I don't think dissipate's the word I want to use, but it'll basically mix the juice, and so that the water at the top is like, it's watery at the top and it's sugary at the bottom until you stir it, right, like a Snapple or what have you. But if you don't stir it, right, if you just let it sit, it will actually, you can like the ice, right? The ice, that the heaviness of the ice is what separates the juice out and all this other stuff. So it's not that serious. It's not that serious, but it's that fascinating, right? And I'm saying it's that fascinating to kind of figure out like what it is I like and what it is I'm trying to replicate and be consistent of. So, um, you know what though? Let's give that, while we're here. Let's give me a second, because I had a short fuse for, or a short fuse thought to think that maybe that lemonade inside would be cool enough by now, right? What we mixed up earlier. I don't think it's cool enough by now, and I don't want to ruin it with ice. Because again, see, I didn't taste any of that, right? Like, and I'm starting to realize that that's what it comes down to, right? It really doesn't matter what the ratio is, or what the uh Like none of those things really matter, right? The ratio or the technique or any of these things, right? These are all just nice fluffy things that make an artist feel better than the scientist, and for the scientist to spit at the artist. These are just things, right? These are just people nature things. But when it comes to like actually getting down to, look, listen, does it taste good? Does it taste good? You know what I mean? Like that's all that kind of matters. Like if anything, I actually had a very um, good buddy of mine earlier today that I just say just go out there and make the world taste better, man. Like if that's what you do, if that is what you do is go out and make the world be a better place to taste, then by all means go forth and do that. But it's getting different though. It's getting different to see. I still have a lot of different places I got to try out here in town that I haven't been able to, or not. No, not necessarily I haven't been able to. Able is not the word. Freedom has always been free in the nature that freedom is, meaning that it's not free. Um, but I just haven't had. I haven't had. I need to create the availability, or I need to create the adventure that is going down to the strip. It's been years since I've been down to the strip in a way. I'm talking about in the way that I used to, right? Like back then, people would tell me all the time, like I said, look, going back to hurting yourself. Lord knows I've fallen on that strip. Um, more than necessary. Let me just say that. But when someone would say, it's 5 miles long, right? From the tip to tail, from the sign to the from the sign to the strat is basically how I measure the strip, right? From the sign to the strat. And even the strat technically is not the strip. Strat is technically Las Vegas. After you go north of Sahara, um, you are now in the city of Las Vegas, no longer the county of Clark. But nonetheless, the strip, that's 5 miles. I had no idea, right? I was like, oh man, I used to walk up and down that thing all the time with me and my buddies, just doing shenanigans, having a good old time, laughing. Walk that thing all night and still and still have night left over, right? Like walk up and down it all night and still have night left over. So it just lets you know, the night can get as old as the day. So freaks come out at night. All y'all be safe out there tonight. Like I said, tonight I think I'm doing this in a way that keeps me keeps me balanced, keeps me sane, and keeps it in general prospect. What was the last thing I took off a note card? Was cotton candy machine. Certain things, you just think to yourself, I want that. I've always wanted that. That's something I need. Realizing that is not anything, that is not a thing, not a want, not a nothing you need, right? But even just the essence of, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, um, wouldn't it be cool, but it would be cool. I'm sure they probably do have a flavoring of lemonade cotton candy. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's day one stuff, right? Raspberry, cherry, lemonade. But lemonade cotton candy would be the same, and spinning this sugar. I think that's where I'm kind of at too. Which reminds me, do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man? The Muffin Man! I made these earlier today. Mm. So, like, I'm gonna have a snack. I was gonna do this earlier. I was gonna do this earlier and end up taking a nap. Cleaning tends to tire you out. I had a lot of cleaning to do today. I finally got done with spring cleaning. Like, I finally got done with spring cleaning. You know, Mother, may I see May. Which reminds me, I don't even know when Mother's Day is this year. Like I should probably find out, right? The mother of all days. Mm. I should probably find out when Mother's Day is, because I have no idea. I have no clue. I know this much. It's on a Sunday, right? Right? It has to be. I'm trying to think. Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. President's Day is Monday. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day is Monday. Labor Day is Monday. Memorial Day is Monday. Thanksgiving is Thursday. So I think that's it. What else happens on a? Yeah, I think those are it. I think that's it. Look at there. Easter, Mother's Day, and Father's Day. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Huh. No such thing as coincidence, but things that you had to sit back and go to yourself. That muffin wasn't too bad. Let's get to this though. Mm. Oh. Okay. So I do want to get some water. This water should be good to go. You know what? Who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? I'm gonna go ahead and it's still a little hot, but it's okay. Hot stuff, baby, I feel yeah. Hot stuff, baby, tonight. Oh yeah, do not invite me to karaoke. I will bring down the house. Not really. Oh, that's one thing I can say when it comes to like the actual like people who actually know the verses or the words to a song, like words to a song. I can get the message of a song. I can get that real quick. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes me kind of go like, oh, yeah, that's the fun part, right? But people who actually know the words can spit them words back or say them words calmly. My sister's like that. My sister knows a song, like she can tell you the words of a song, and I think to myself, like, dang, like how did you gather all of that? Like from that one that that one, what's the word I'm looking for? One sweep. Or you only heard the song once. You only heard the song once. Like how did you get there? So I don't think we need this because that's exactly what happens, right? This is clean. But that's what happens is it starts sliding. I don't remember this being it either though. I don't remember that either because I would have remembered staining. Yeah. So we were on this. I would remember staining my counter because that's the other thing too. You have when you have certain materials, right? Certain materials, and I don't think this is marble. It's not. I mean, I know it's not because there's no way they would place that level of material right in this unit. But those are things you have to consider when you're building things, having things, or you want things to be a certain way or a certain spec, right? You'll get this need to understand that materials matter in this material world. Material girl. I have not tried this lemonade yet. I don't fear, but I do. I'm curious. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay, we're on to something. We're getting better. That actually went down without. That actually went down. It's actually not as sour. It's not as sweet as I would think. This watered down further than I thought. So that's when it kind of goes back to that coloring state, or the coloring idea. Like, oh, I don't taste the different. I don't taste the immediate difference of brown sugar versus cane sugar yet, but I'm sure I will after you get down to it. I'm gonna let the ice melt in it. I'm saying milk. You don't want milk melting in it, which still kind of makes me laugh though, because the original. Look at that! Look at that guy. Got a crease in him. But the original the original recipe of or the artifact, right? The artifact of lemonade says that egg whites were the first part of ingredients for lemonade, which kind of makes me curious as to why that is. Oh man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're only 9 lemons in. I'm already sick of this. Right? That's part of it. I will say that the aged lemons definitely roll better than those newfangled fresh lemons, right? But I will say I kind of like the idea of not rolling back and forth. I kind of like the idea of a single directional, a single directional roll. Because let me tell you, this process right here, this literal process of squeezing out the juice or rolling out the juice in a way that which reminds me, I just cleaned this slate. Now this one's not gonna crack on you. There you go. Same difference. Same difference in the body. Give me a second to clean this up again and start over, because obviously we did not learn from the first time. So when you don't learn from the second time, you get 2 lumps of sugar and then wonder why your tea is sweet. You get 2 lumps of sugar and then wonder why your tea is sweet. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Join the tea party, but no, not the tea party, which is unfortunate, right? When you start having like these awesome like concepts and names, and they just kind of like they give way to the difference, right? They give way to the difference of like, that's not what you think it means. That's not what you think it means. Like, I even put that on a card too. I'm sitting here thinking about it. Yeah, I wrote that down. I was like, definition versus what someone thinks something means, right? Like, what was the word I was talking the other day, and I was like, see, just because you change the definition of that word doesn't mean it. Well, what word was it? And it was irritating me because I was like, just because you change the definition of that word does not mean like you're misunderstanding me on purpose, which that's part of the nature of people we live in, right? And I'm not saying live in today, right? I did not grow up in the 70s. I was not around in the 60s. I could not even tell you about the 80s, right? Could barely hold my head up high in the 90s. I'm just saying, like, so I can't sit here and tell you that this is newfangled, right? For all I know, this is the way the world has always been, and the old fogies has just never, never decided to change it, right? How do we know that change is taking? How do we know change is taking foot unless someone from then tells us now, oh, that's not the way it's always been, or that's not the way it's been. But our first squeezer, our first Josie. What word was it? I cannot remember to save my life right now. But it was a word, and I said, just because you don't know the definition of this word does not mean it's like that changes the conversation because you don't know what the word means. And there was another point that I didn't know what the word means, right? Or what a word meant. That's about context. It's about context. I should have wrote it down. Look, see, should have wrote it down. It's getting easier and easier though too. Like I said, for the last 6 weeks, I'm coming up on the last couple not semesters. I'm coming up on the last days of my first semester of classes. I like them. They gave me they've enriched my mind, right? They've enriched my mind back to a fuel that I feel is useful, right? In today's working world or in today's society, I got to learn myself a little further in the next coming chapters, but I also got to learn 2 industries that I know are very relative, not relative, but they're relationship heavy. But the thing is, going back to, like I said, squeezing these lemons on an industrial level, right? Everything on an industrial level comes down to the relationships. And so being able to make it through, right? Like, and the thing about it is now that makes it different and kind of a little bit more enjoyable for me this go around is, back then when I was going to school, right? Like, it really was a not necessarily a know nothing situation, right? Because I've taken my share of courses to be prepared, right? Like, I probably take more steps in being prepared for something than the actual something. And I think that just comes down to readiness, right? A mentality of readiness, which is really cool, but really nerve wracking if you don't get a good handle on that set of skills, right? And I'm saying that as far as the set of skills that say, okay, it's time to fight, or the set of skills that says it's time to fly, or the set of skills that it's time to freeze out, right? Like I said, going back to it's easy to heat something up. Fire is needy. Bloods and ice are not as needy. They're very stone cold. Yeah, and I mean that pun intended, right? I mean that in all pun. I mean that in all pun. Like it's very cold, very ice, very hard um, to do. But being able to look back now, like I said, a system of readiness. I was probably more ready for college back then than I was today. As far as mentality, right? There comes a certain point. There comes a certain point in being an adult that you're just like, you know what? As much as I would love to learn the new slang, as much as I would love to learn the new way of skinning a potato, despite the fact that the old way to skin a potato does just fine without hurting anybody or anything. Um, you know, this go around, it was kind of cool to see the brain at work when the brain is not as soft, right? Right, when the brain is not as soft, when you kind of start getting into your ways, right? And like I said, and it's about being malleable, but it's really cool too to see how your brain goes from being, a hard-headed individual with an opinion. Not to say that that was me per se, right? Like I said, I I kind of put I kind of put weight on the idea that I'm very open-minded in regards to, like I said, how you skin your potato or how you find your lost remote, whatever makes your boat float, whatever rhyme you want to stick in this, right? But when it comes to certain things that you're just like, I have no idea how, like back now, like looking back now, I remember I had this one class for it was African American experience, and so it's part of the it was part of the college. It was part of the College of Business, but it was part of the political science department. All right. Even kind of seeing how departments break up or how people feel like this department belongs here or there. That's a big lemon. My small hand for size, right? But there we go. Crack you open. But yeah, just kind of seeing where people place their monies in a department for a university or for a college. Having that understanding, it's kind of cool to see. And see, you don't see those things, right? You don't see those things like when you're paying attention to being a student, right? When you're paying attention to being a student, it's kind of hard to pay attention to all those other things. But like I said, my first go around in the realm, not only was I a student, but I became a resident, right? I became a resident of that particularly funny farm, and you I just see it differently, right? I just see it differently in a way that this go around, right? This go around, I was able to just be a student. I was able to just kind of be a student and not feel the need to, like not necessarily not feel the need to learn, but the learning is it was coming from an inside out rather than an outside in, right? Like it's meant to sharpen the skills, not necessarily plant them. The skills are there, but being able to nurture those skills back to a health that makes sense. So this guy did not make it. Clearly did not make it. Rest in frost. But yeah, I just been writing a lot, and like I said, a lot of it has been a level of, oh yeah, no one requires you to write until they do, and when it comes to college, I think that's the one thing that I'm able to say that has helped me figure a lot of things out is writing, and not necessarily writing for the sake of, oh Romeo, dear Romeo, no, but writing in a way of like being able to actualize or not actualize, but what's the word I'm looking for? What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say it gives you the outlet, right, to take a stance, take a healthy stance, and then move on. Like move on. Like if it's not going to change the law, if it's not going to change the policy, if it's not going to change the behavior, right? If it's not going to be this matter of change, then having the readiness and the muscles to do so is probably the next best thing, which is kind of what goes back. Actually, I wrote that down too. Nope, that's another one. But I remember this one off the top of my head. I don't have to read what I remember. And what I remember is I remember asking myself, how many times do you change? How many times do you change? And it's not necessarily a question of like, oh, they brand new, they switched up, or they never changed, they don't know. No, I'm talking about, but like, even in general, right? Even your body, even the skin that you are in right now, it's not the skin you had a year ago, right? And I'm saying that to say, like, it is, but it's not, right? You've shedded some layers, right? Some dead skin has definitely coming off your scalp. It's just the nature of life, right? The nature of life. Like, even the food, like the food that you had last year, that bubble gum, despite what we'll say about swallowing some doggone bubble gum, I can almost say, I have to research it. Right? I'll have to confirm my answers before I start telling these outrageous lies. But I'm fairly certain even that gum is out of your system by now, right? And I'm saying that to say, like, how often do you change? Do you change with the seasons? Do you change with the weather? Do you change with your mood? What? And then that, and like I said, and that kind of goes back to the idea that people, they have this center of, or they have this realm of pleasure, they have this realm of pain, they have this realm of pleasure, they have this realm of pain, and then they have this distinction of presence, which is the middle of the two, right? Because if you're not enjoying yourself and you're not being tortured, then the content is just the content is present. Squeezy, squeezy McWeezy. Oh man, I'm excited for this bound though too. See, now I was complaining and making a big funk about 9 lemons, and now look at us. We're already, I don't. I mean, we're not all the way in, but I can't see the bottom, right? I can't see the bottom of the box. So we're halfway there, and squeezing and teasing the truth, right? I tell people that too. Don't tease the truth. Don't tease the truth, because the moment you tease the truth enough, it's kind of like Leghorn. Foghorn Leghorn is the cartoon. Going back to cartoons, see, keep up with me, y'all. Going back to the cartoon of that rooster, right? It was a rooster and the dog and the chicken hawk, which I get a kick at because called call one of my pals a chicken hawk the other day, and they're like, "You call me a chicken hawk?" I'm like, "Yeah, see, I hunt chickens. See, I'm a chicken hawk, Henry the chicken hawk." But anyway, if you tease the truth, right? If you come up and try to beat the truth like Foghorn did when he tried to. I don't even know what the dog's name was. I think the dog was just dog. Um, but if you're not familiar with this cartoon or with the way that this chicken worked, right? This rooster, he would come up with a 2x4 to a sleeping dog. Dog is sleeping head in doghouse, right? So dog is sleeping head in doghouse, tail hanging out. Rooster come, grab the dog's tail, and start smacking the dog's behind, knowing that the dog is tied up. Right? He has trust that the dog is tied up, and he knows that the dog's leash can only go so far. So long as he can reach that tree level, like so long, like if the dog is here, and all he has to do is reach here, and the dog can't touch him, he'll run and make sure that he gets right here so the dog can't touch him. Don't do not tease the truth, because by the time you know it, the truth will have you this close, and you will be done. Like you will be done. Let me turn this down. But when you tease the truth, do not tease the truth. Don't tease anything, to be honest with you, but don't tease the truth. Uh, if you're now just tuning in, or if I haven't rambled you away, or chewed your ear off to the next episode or to the next video, we are on our second batch of lemons, of Life with Lemons. I'm tragic. I will be your squeezer today. Not your teaser, your squeezer. But I'll be your squeezer today. We have a couple different things that we're working on in order to master this recipe of hand squeeze lemonade. You may ask yourself, well, why even bother with this? Well, life has given me a level of lemons and a level of opportunity that this right here is what needs to be done to enjoy. This is what needs to be done to enjoy. And so while we are doing this, enjoy, right? While we're doing this, enjoy, there are many things that we take along with us. And one of them is having the nature of being ready, right? How do we get this lemonade ready to be something that people drink up, right? It's, drink up. How do we get this lemonade to be ready? And and if you're not catching on, or if it's something that's kind of like maybe not, I'm not sure. This is not about lemonade. This is not about lemonade. Lemonade just happens to make it tasty, right? Lemonade just happens to make it relatable and seen, right? But we are in the squeeze. We are in the seasonal squeeze. And sometimes, oop, look at that. Yeah. That one squeezed out. When you're in a seasonal squeeze, one of the best tools you can have, or one of the best tools you can put to work, right, is your readiness. And if there's one thing, look at that. Lemon juice is even distorting, right? Distorting that thing. It's funny how that works. But one way to be ready, right? One way to be ready is to be still. And stillness, right? Stillness comes with a realm to, not a realm, but stillness comes with a need. That's what I want to say. Stillness comes with a need for muscles that can sit, right? Stillness requires muscles. And sometimes those muscles look like reading. Sometimes those muscles look like listening. Sometimes those muscles look like writing. I will say this, none of those muscles, none of the muscles of stillness, right, require, none of them require, they require muscles, they require a patience, but they do not require, quite frankly, I mean, they do require an attitude, because you gotta have a positive attitude, right? You gotta have a positive attitude to have the sitting of stills. But if I had to segue right into something similar but different, I would say that one website I want to put out there that I know is written down on my talk cards here. As like I said, I'm in what's the word I'm looking for? I've been lost for words today, but I guess that's what makes the words few and in few, right? Few and in few. But anyway, the ready.gov, right? Ready.gov is, I love my .gov websites, right? If you ever get a chance or you ever know something, um, people give Uncle a hard time, but I think people forget that Uncle is made up of the people, right? And I want to say of the people, I do mean, if they're not your neighbors, then tell your neighbor to go be in that office, right? But these are your neighbors, these are your teachers, these are your neighborhood fellows, supposedly, right? Like supposedly, that's the idea. But ready.gov, that's the one thing that I am looking forward to now that spring cleaning is out of the way, right? Spring cleaning is done and finished, or at least we have the new space right now that we have the space for these lemons. We have space for these lemons that kind of make it ready for space to be ready in other regards. So ready.gov, right? Ready.gov is a resource that I'm going to use in the next coming week or so in order to build some of these kits that I have in mind. Because one thing I have to think, going back to um, if keep up with me, and I'm saying that as far as like keep up with the ideas that flow, but like cotton candy, right? I mentioned cotton candy earlier, but cotton candy wasn't just because of cotton candy, right? It's not just because ooh cotton candy. No, cotton candy has a special property, right? And no, I've never wanted a cotton candy machine. I've seen I've done my share of cotton candy. I'm over cotton candy, but cotton candy is starting to become a dreaming focal point or a visionary point in realizing the dehydration nature of sugar, right? And so when it comes to being ready, you have all this glitter and no float. You might want to have make sure your float is ready. So when you go to ready.gov, right, they give you these realms of objects and kits and things such as medicine, food, clothing, all that stuff, right? Ready.gov. And honestly, it's just a matter of realizing what the necessities are and are not. Um, and like I said, when it comes down to being consistent, right, having a consistent nature of lemonade, having a consistent nature to know these lemons are coming. These lemons are gonna keep coming. They're not. It's not something that just stops because of a bad season, right? They just won't come as sweet. They won't come as tart. They won't come as plentiful, but they will come and they will continue to come. And so now it's a matter of being ready for when they do come, which these lemons got me sweating already. I got a quarter of a box left. So I'm gonna get down to the quarter of the box and see what our next batch looks like. Get that batch going. But ready.gov. I swear I could have sworn I had more on these note cards than not. Oh, but see, right under ready.gov, of course. So one other thing that I've been doing is getting back into play is different sitting games. And so I was going down the street few weeks last year, a few weeks prior to the end of the year. And the reason why I remember this is because I was in a different city, right? And for that, I was walking down the street and I came across this bench. And this bench had a chess table, or had a checkerboard table, or a checkered table. And I thought to myself, no one's gonna come out here and play that. Like, this in the middle of nowhere, right? It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of, you got to bring your own pieces, all this, that, and the other. Well, sure enough, when I left the services that I had come to see in that particular town, I had left out. Sure enough, I saw two individuals. Juicy. I saw two individuals outdoors playing chess, right? And for me personally, I'm a very competitive person, which is why I don't play games. I don't hunt man. I do not fish for compliments. I was able to get that graphic out earlier yesterday to think like, yep, we are gonna set the tone to recognize like there's a reason why we don't do these things. And so I'm a really competitive person, and so when it comes to games that I'm not really particularly good at yet, right? Keyword yet. Um, it really puts me in a humbling state to be like, okay, well, let's go ahead and get our ass kicked, right? Like, well, look, I got time today. Like, let's do this. And by the time I was able to spectate, right? I didn't actually ask to play. I'm usually pretty good at no one being a stranger, no one being a stranger, and I'll like I said, I'll walk up to darn near everybody, and sometimes that's worked out for the best. Other times that's worked out to being a very tragic story. And remember, it's not a magic show; it's a tragic show, and all tragic shows are funny. So there's never one of hatred, right? It's just always one of, well, that was kind of weird. But yeah, but they were playing chess, and it made me kind of realize that I did not know chess. I thought I knew chess. I thought I knew chess, right? I thought I did, and then I used to play. I used to play enough towards where at least I know what we're doing, right? I at least know what we're doing here, in a chess match. But it's been a while since I've played in a way that is competitive, right? It's competitive, and it's that's the way it's vicious, it's striking, like it's I'm coming for your king. And in an aggressive way. And that's the biggest thing, right? Games give way. Games are a very good outlet um in society. And this is me on a short tangent about games. They're going back to what's polite. What allows us to be a polite society. And the thing is, I had to write a paper. I had to write a paper on police ethics that I posted up for review. Right, I finally was able to submit it last week. That computer system, if you're familiar with Canvas or any type of classroom management system or grading system, Canvas was down, and that IT department thought they had me messed up for somebody else. I will just email that paper. I will click whatever I need to click. I will send whatever I need to send. But there's no way the computer's gonna try to tell me I can't do that. If the computer tells me I cannot do that, I will. This is fine. It's all fine. Like that's how that feels for me. For people who know me a little better. But anyway, I was writing a paper, and I had, and it was on the subject matter was police ethics, right? And for me, at the bottom line of it said that police ethics is what keeps a world kind, right? Not polite, which is different, right? A polite, a nice and polite person is completely different than a kind one. Okay, a nice and polite person is going to smile in your face. A nice and polite person is going to a nice and polite person is going to smile in your face, which is pleasant. A nice and polite person is going to be respectful. A nice and polite person is going to be socially accepted. And that's what a nice and polite person is, right? Now, that does not mean that a kind person is disrespectful. It does not mean that a kind person does not know how to smile. Just means that a kind person is not always one that is accepted by society. They are polite and nice people are accepted by society because they are going with the groove, because it is polite and nice to do so. A kind person is nearly the opposite. They are going to be different but kind, right? Different but kind. Like I said, polite and nice is respectful. Nice and polite is is worthy, right? Because there's nothing wrong with being nice and polite. What I'm trying to say is nice and polite is not the same as being kind. And so if you want somebody who is nice and polite, then by all means, you're going to find that person, but you're going to realize that nice and polite is a state, right? Nice and polite is a state. Nice and polite is ice, but when the heat turns up, they turn to water. And when the heat really turns up, they're gone. They're gas, right? They vaporize. That nice and polite is gone. They're poof, gone. What was nice and polite as ice has turned to water and has evaporated into gas and poof, gone. As I'm sitting here about to knock over this lemonade, right? That's nice and polite. But kindness is not a state. Kindness is actually the water it is, right? So you can be kind as ice. You can be kind as water. You can be kind as a gas. Like that doesn't change the state of doesn't change the state of somebody. Kindness doesn't, but nice and polite do, because nice and polite are the things that we learn in a social structure to think that that's what's acceptable, right? Socially acceptable, because kindness is not socially acceptable. As a matter of fact, I'm getting to that point to realize that kindness is actually the exact opposite of what's socially acceptable, right? And I can get more into that to think, is society more about excluding people or including people? And I think now that we are, and I hate for it to be a this or that, right? I'm very much someone who's thinking like, hey, it doesn't have to be this or that. We can have some gray, right? We can have some gray. I'm starting to realize that, mm, mm, can we though? Can we? Can we? Because if we can, why don't we? Right? Like if we can have gray in this, why don't we? And that's just the point. There is no, there is no gray. And socially speaking, right? The black ain't so black and the white ain't so white. Uh, there's a whole spectrum of color that you got to deal with in this, which is kind of what kind of made me kind of go back in another way to think. Earlier today that someone was giving me problems uh with the way that someone wanted to be addressed and titled, right? And I had to step back and think to myself, no, why it bothered him so much will always be something that makes me kind of go like, I don't know why it bothered you so much. Mm. Brown sugar might be it, cause that's it. Like that's like, cause once the water starts to melt, mm, it does need more sugar though. I mean, not necessarily more sugar. It doesn't need more sugar. It needs. It does need to be sweeter. Anyway, but someone wanted to neutralize themselves. Someone wanted to neutralize themselves. Like, and I totally get it. You know what I mean? I'm saying that as far as I totally get wanting to neutralize yourself, especially in a realm of people that don't believe you can do it. Right? Like, like when you step into a room of people who, again, like if you go to the Duck Society, which by the way, they out here waddling, y'all. If we're starting to get ducks are starting to hatch. I'm saying, no, you know what I mean, as far as the birds, the birds and the bees, all those birds and them bees, man. Because now birds aren't birds, and now bees ain't bees, and now the birds, some bees are birds. You heard? No, but the birds and the bees, in regard to the season, right? Not necessarily the colloquialism of sex education, but like birds and bees are starting to come out. I haven't seen too many bees yet, as far as like buzzing around, um, to start pollinating some of these trees. We've already gone into bloom, right? I've already seen blooming trees. Our trees out here bloomed a little late this year, as far as looking around, because we don't have too many trees out here to be blooming like that. But y'all, I remember the first. I remember the first. I remember so two seasons. I remember. And this is deja vu. Even speaking on it right now. I remember 2 seasons. Right. I remember my first season in the South for fall, where all the leaves had first change color. Right. Not just fell. Like here in Nevada or here in Las Vegas, tree like during fall the trees brown up, fall down, dust away. Right. Like that's how. Like it's almost like you get this last heat up of heat. Right. You get this last heat up, and then all the leaves fall, turn to dust, and blow away. Back in Kentucky, leaves actually turned, and then they stayed on the tree, like fired, like the trees were on fire. You know what I mean? As far as orange, yellows, and reds that I have never seen in my life before. Some even like pretty pinks of nature, right? And to be like, whoa, right? Like, whoa, I can't believe that. I can't believe we can't finish these last 5 minutes. Give me 1 second to tell this story in the same regard. But wow, though seasons. How often do you change? And why would you change? Right? If it's not for the seasons when the birds and the bees are here, right? If it's not for the reason to change, if a season's not for the change, then is it the pain? Is pain what makes you change? And if it's not the pain that makes you change, is it the pleasure? And it's not the pleasure, and that's why I'm saying I'm starting to realize now that none of these things are what dictate change. It's the present. Present, the gift of now. The gift of now is what changes. Okay, and it's what needs the management of changing, because we're constantly changing. We're constantly changing. People are really quick, right? To say people don't change, people never change, yada yada yada. You know, there are some core distinctions in people that they're just not going to change. There are some core things that are just not going to move. You know, and honestly, like I said, to me, I feel like those core things change every 12 years. Because even I think I think someone did tell me that uh Inside Out. I think Inside Out is coming up with the Inside Out too. It might already be out. It might already be out. I don't know. Like I said, I don't keep up with this mess, right? But Inside Out is what made me kind of realize, like I say, the same as far as like change. Do you change for the seasons? Do you change because of pain? Do you change, um, and you've always, not always, and I say this because I'm talking to myself more than anybody in regards. So when I say I don't necessarily mean you, but they catch you back up on this concept, right? To hear that people change, or to have seen things that say people only change when they have to, or when they are forced to, or whatever have you. I don't think so. I think And I think a little bit that's what courage is in some regard, right? Is being the change you need to be now without the management to have done it immediately, right? Like if you have to be this thing now, like if you have to be a butterfly now and you are currently a caterpillar, is almost. And I see that's not courage though, right? It's as far as like if you got to do what you got to do at the way you need to do it, but maybe that is courage, you know, the courage to change, despite the fact that change is going to happen no matter what, presently and contently, without your permission, right? Without your permission, because who are you? And no, I don't say that to diminish. I don't say that to diminish you. I mean, I say that to really put in mind, right? To put in mind of your power in your life to make those changes and manage those changes, right? To get the most juice, to get the most juice out of your squeeze. Because, and this is the last one, hallelujah, right? This is the last lemon of this box, which it didn't take very long. It did not take very long, very, very long at all. Mm. I know I go all over the place. It's okay. And I'm saying, and when I say it's okay, because like I said, usually I go back and review this and think to myself, oh, I didn't even finish that point. But I think I finished most of my points today. And like I said, I'm trying to keep them fairly low, fairly decent. This lemonade was good though. But if you have some changes that you need to go through, if you have some changes that are calling for you, if you want to see changes, if you want to change, do it now, right now. Say to yourself right now, I will change. I will change for the better. I will change for the better. I will improve myself. I will improve the world by improving myself. I'm just saying, like, you got to take accountability for it. Like I said, you have to admit that you're hurt. You have to admit that you're hurt. And I'm not, and like I said, and to me, these are just things that they all kind of wrap around the same idea or the same marble of thought. But that one though, like I said, oh man, and the only reason why you hurt because you didn't stretch. That's it. Like I said, I didn't do anything too strenuous. It's been a long while since I've done anything in a way that makes me kind of go like, ooh, I don't even know how that happened. You know what I mean? I don't even know how. You know how I did that. Because trust and believe, there have been times, dates, and places, and people and faces that just make me kind of go like, I can't even, like, I can't even. So, but what I can do, right? Talk about all the things that we won't do, all the things that we don't do, all the things that can't be done. Why don't we talk about things that can be done? Why don't we talk about things that should be done? Why don't we talk about things that we are doing? We are currently here drinking on this lemonade, which this cup fits directly, perfectly, nicely underneath that juicer, which is the next step for these things. Now that we got these things squeezed out, and we probably got another 40 minutes 40 minutes of ramble on, ramble off, ramble on, ramble off. Which reminds me, come here. We actually pulled out the clipboard today. We are officially on clipboard duty. And I'm saying that to say what happens if you do not know me. When Tragic pulls out when Tragic pulls out a checklist, things just got serious. When Tragic pulls out a clipboard, right? Broke out that clip. you just either disappear or get ready to work. And the thing is, that's one thing I love too. As far as like, I was telling someone earlier today, or I was talking. I think it was earlier today or was it yesterday? It might have been yesterday. That I was talking to someone as far as saying like, there's leaders, there's managers, there's bosses, there's supervisors, there's team leads, right? Like there's all these different people. There's only one person, right? The only type of person that I will work under, and call them boss to their face out loud in front of everybody in the whole world is that I have respect for them because their leadership style, right? And I'm saying their leadership style to be like, okay, look, guys, this is what we got. This is what I need done. I trust you to do it. get it done. If you have problems, come talk to me. Go forth, right? And then leave me to my own devices, unsupervised. Now, I will say, leaving tragic unsupervised is a coin flip. It's a coin flip. But to flip that coin and know that I'm heads up, right? I'm heads up, meaning like I'm heads up in it, right? I want to do what's best for whatever the mission, goal, objective, whatever it is, because not everything is for work, okay? And when I say work, I'm talking about like paying money work. Not everything is for work. You got to remember that the outcomes are just as profitable than the profit itself, right? So anyway, but that's one person I call boss, because I'm like I'm not gonna if a micromanager wants them, I will never call a micromanager a boss, because they are a manager, a micromanager trying to compensate that they are not in fact a boss. You know what I mean? A boss. But a boss to me, and a boss that I call a boss as a boss, I'm not just saying like, whip and chain kind of person. I'm talking about just someone who has, you know, the grit and tenacity to tell you, lead you, show you, and demonstrate or help you along the way. You know what I mean? Like a boss is gonna be there shoulder to shoulder with you. They won't be happy about it, because they won't be happy about it. I'm just saying that as far as because they have other things to do. But if it came down to it, they're not gonna leave you out there. You know what I mean? A true boss is not gonna leave you out there like that. Right? A manager will, a supervisor will. They'll just stop managing. They'll just stop supervising. A boss is a boss. A leader is a leader. And depending on their style, they're one and the same. And I'm trying to tell you right now, when I pull out this clipboard, even to myself, I'm saying to myself, when I look at myself, because I even had to look for it, not look for it, but when I said, "Where's my clipboard?" It's almost like the clipboard said, "Hi, here I am. I'm here. It's me." Because it fell over. I mean, it almost like, and it was one of those. It was one of those Gaga joke things. I was like, "Where's that doggone clipboard?" And all of a sudden, I hit my desk and the clipboard fell off. I said, "Oh, there we go. Look at that. Get your clip, get your clip, and let's go. You can't have that clipboard." Rules made for you. You can't have that clipboard. Watch me. Which I know. I know for a lot of people, like, why? Why do they talk like that? Because it wouldn't be tragic without that. You know? Man, oh man. So see, I got some other things I need to go on here. So this might be my last lemon show. As far as life with lemons, I think we got a pretty down pat as to, like, it's lemonade be lemonade. So if you see me out there squeezing, I'm squeezing, right? I'm squeezing. I'm not teasing the truth. I'm squeezing lemons, and we're gonna be squeezing these lemons. I think, like I said, for the summertime, because I got a couple of areas and events that I want to show up for. Because it's rule one, right? First rule is don't get got. You don't get got by bringing God with you. Rule number one is show up. If you don't show up, I can't work with what is not here. So you have to show up. Number two, bring value. Most times in the form of cash. I mean cash, not credit, not collateral, not nonsense. Okay, straight dollar bills, y'all. But you know what? If you just in the cash strapped nature, then bring some value to the table. If you don't bring any value to the table, even if it's just the positivity of knowing that you are here for the positive change, right? That you're willing to change yourself. Your attitude is a value. Your enthusiasm is a value. But if all you can bring is that stink ass attitude, then don't show up and don't bring your stink self over here, because I don't need it. Because what we're gonna do when you get here, right? You ain't got, you showed up, you brought cash. Because when you get here, we're gonna handle some business, boo boo. We're gonna handle some business. Don't be scared now. Says you want a thug. Don't be scared now. Like that's how I be talking about shorty. You want to ride with me? You want to ride with me? Don't be scared now. Which reminds me, man, the season's coming up. I had my mind set on being back in a whip, right? Being back in the whip for the summertime, but I'm gonna wait for the prices to drop down just a little further, just a little further. just given the markets, right? Because everyone right now is going into a panic sell with the new month, right? Anytime you have a new month, a new quarter, or a new realm of time that everyone is familiar with, such as a new month. Give me a second. This this cutting board. I didn't realize that this cutting board was so sticky. Right? I didn't realize that I had gotten so much residue on there. But anyway, but March, right? March is a new month. Damn it. March is a new month, and with that, everyone looks at their portfolio a little different. As far as the market and money markets of things, right? And so, where was I going with that? Where was I going with that? Oh, so one index that's an indicator of money markets is the used car index. Another index that people like to use is men's underwear, the cost and viability of men's underwear, which I'll post it up. I learned that from the internet too. That you know that's an indication or index of the markets. Go figure. But based on money markets right now, and this is not stock advice. I'm not a stock advisor. I'm not a financial advisor yet, right? I am working on those credentials. It's another part of the education that I am seeking, or the education credentials that I'm buying for. But for right now, I have just the advice of personal experience. Um, and I mean, I've been going at this for about 4 years now. Yeah, about 4 years now. Because it started basically the start of the pandemic, right? What are you to do if not bake bread? Make bread or make bake bread or make bread. Whatever side of the team you're on, right? As far as either you bake it or you make it, but both are needed. Both are needed because it's supposed to be our daily bread, in which we realize, huh, maybe we should do this or maybe we should do that. I'm talking about as far as market, right? Marketable. There, because everything about a market, right? What makes a market is trade. If nothing is marketable, right? If nothing is tradable, then it's not very a good market. So when it comes to, I don't have anything to trade in this go around. More so, oop, there we go. I don't have anything to trade. Because if you haven't caught up on the episode, right, where things grow feet and leave, or when wheels decide to roll away, um, you can go find that video somewhere else. But when you see the market not moving, right, like things people are not willing to trade, or people are uh not necessarily willing to trade, but they're trading the trading value, right? The trading value of people is stagnant, right? People are not wanting to move. People are comfortable, and that's what the markets look like right now. And I don't blame them, right? Everyone's kind of everyone's kind of waiting it out to see. You know what I mean? They're trying to see. Number one, they're watching the hill. You know what I mean? Like every market, or every society, you know whatever governing party that they have, um, that's what's going to dictate it. Which kind of goes back to, I'm not sure what the law is, but it is curious to see that you have all these different people sitting in desks and chairs and positions, um, that they can. I'm not going to say that they can blow. I'm not saying that they're blowing the wind, right? Because they're not God. They don't blow the wind, right? However, but they do set the sails, and to set the sails in a way that doesn't bend in a direction that is for everybody is kind of the things that make me go, hmm, should we allow, and I say we, I'm talking about the general voting citizen, right? The law abiding citizen, or the kind citizen who doesn't want to put up with this crap no more. Is that what we're doing now? You kind of look at their motives too, because now, like I said, when it comes to people being stagnant and still, right? It's that stillness that sorry, I'm looking at to see why. I'm looking at how this thing deteriorates, because it kind of goes back to just a squirrel moment over there. Um, I can't remember the concept, right, of being able to identify the problems with what you don't see, right? But he actually recently passed away. That particular author, I think Daniel. He wrote "Think Fast, Think Slow." Daniel Kahan. Daniel K. Give me 1 second. I'll see if I have his book on my shelf over here, which I ended up finding. So I'm not sure if I put it on. I'm not sure if I put it on video back then, or I'm not sure if I. I'm not sure. There you are. Come here. I'm not sure if I expressed it, but I thought I had lost the book during this second coming of college education. I thought I had lost my textbook. I really did hurt myself. I can barely bend. That's what sucks sometimes. Not about getting old, but about hurting yourself. So, but this book right here, Thinking Fast and Slow, by Daniel Kahneman. Kahn, Kahn, Kahneman, Kahneman. I'm telling you, part of education. Part of education is knowing how to pronounce things, and that includes people's names. Which, as a side note, I always kind of felt like guys, right? Guys having to be around guys, like, cause like guys having to be around guys, they don't ever think about name changes, right? Like, I feel like growing up, that was always kind of the concept and means and idea, right? It's like don't even get attached because it's gonna change. Like that's the point, right? But for them, it doesn't change, and so then you have to kind of look at it. When I say them, I'm talking about guys, like men, right? The XY side of the fence, and the but when it comes to, like the naming convention, right? As far as like how to say names, how to spell names, and what names mean, I feel like guys are just better at names just because of the nature of sport, nature of work, nature of authoring. They're just better in that regard. And sometimes you gotta give it. Sometimes you just gotta let it be, right? Right? I'll stick to my lemon house. Look, I'll stick to my lemonade instead of trying to pronounce. That's a really good 8 ball. I have a little doodle in here. That's a really good 8 ball. I must have been really bored. I'm gonna try to find something in here to just read off. Like this one right here, page 49, the lazy controller. Time will tell whether the distinct or distinction, right? Yeah. Time will tell whether the distinction between intelligence and rationality can lead to new discoveries. And the thing, so I started reading this book back according to my inscription, right? I started reading this book back in August 2020, and I wrote once before, once again, end to start, then begin. And so, what are we ending? We're ending the days, right? We're ending the days of drinking on so that we can drink up. Because for whatever reason, the seasons have changed. Seasons have changed. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's the music I got going on in the background. Let's see. So one thing I want to do, if we had to make it here, I'm gonna try this because we only have so much left, right? Let's see. Give me one moment. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make a small batch here because I don't have any I don't have any sugar. Like I said, this sugar, I feel like I have. So I know sugar can get old and things like that, but this sugar never opened, right? But it still got hardened. But like candy canes, right? Candy canes is candy cane. So if I was to sit here and say take like a chunk like this, right? I would call that maybe, if this is 2 pounds and this was like an eighth of that, right? Put that in there. So I feel like that's right. I feel like that's half of that. So that's enough sugar for that instance. I have this boiling water right here, but I also want to have So this is the zest, right? This is what was squeezed out of zest. I mean, and then look at that. Like I said, straight up yellow, dude. Straight up yellow. Or things that make me go wow. And then from the other day, I'm gonna let these lemons right here. I'm gonna let these lemons stay squeezed, right? Because they're still cold. I still got some cold in them, and cold doesn't necessarily help me out in doing this because this is about to be hot. But I have some lemon juice that I got from the last batch that measures out to be. Come on, 2 cups. Come on, a little less than 2 cups. It's about a cup and a half. Yeah, a cup and a half. So 12 ounces. And so if I have 12 ounces, right? 12 ounces, I'm going to put 12 ounces of that in there. And then for this water, so if I have this lemon juice, I'm going to put 2 cups of water. Because I like my lemonade to be watered down, just a slight touch. Like I've never been someone who wanted like this really sweet lemonade. I've never been that kind of person. Thank God for Pyrex. Because now we're gonna melt that sugar. Alright. And then if we were to look at that, I'm gonna put in 8 ounces or a cup. Right? I'm gonna put in a cup of this zest because of that's water too. I'm gonna put it all in here. So I got some pulp out of here, so that's kind of funky. A funky adventure. We're just trying to find a so I can see this. So we do. We did about 2 chunks or about half a I would call that about 2 cups of sugar. If I had to give it a measurement, right? 2 cups of sugar, and now it's all dissolved, but it's still coming in. I don't know if you see it. It's coming in. Yep. Looking like a bowl of Rice Krispies. See that right there? Which is probably where all the sugar went in the first place. Which kind of reminds me too, though. It is time to I gotta narrow down my Rice Krispie treat recipe before the fall. If anything, I'm getting there. Once upon a time, I did have a cookbook. And I'm talking about this is an old memory, so it's not necessarily anything recent. But once upon a time, I did have a cookbook that I would work on every summer at my grandmother's house, and then for the whole year, right, I'll work on my cookbook for the summer. That's the only place I could really get into the kitchen without someone truly being down my throat about it. And but create all these recipes for the summer or during the summer, and then throughout the year, perfect them, or throughout the year, put them out there. But I think this right here, I think lemonade is gonna be mastered by the end of this year. Rice Krispie treats would be nice to master. You know what I mean, as far as mastering. But it's all in good fun. Like I said, it's nothing to do with anything other than realizing that you got to be the management of your own changes. And with you, as you change, as your mind changes, as your body changes, and then in this regard, as your taste bud changes, um, you know, you start realizing that a life that you used to drink on, now you need to drink up, right? A life that you couldn't drink down, maybe you should drink on, and a life that you keep drinking up, maybe you shouldn't drink it down, right? You know what I mean? Like, as far as up down, regards to life, But you know what? Using the momentum that you have will get you faster than not, right? Because that's what the momentum is for. Energy is not created. Energy does not deplete. It is just put into use or not use, right? And like I said, when it comes to taste buds and wanting things a certain way, I'm starting to get that picky about my lemonade. I'm not feeling anything down here yet. It's just hot, right? It's hot, so we're gonna grab some ice and throw it on over some ice. But hopefully, by the time we get done doing some steering here, it's not so bad. But yeah, but some of these recipes, like I said, just lemonade. I think is gonna be one that gets me. Just like I was talking about that punch. Like I remember, like I said, we had punch at a help desk where they're there strictly to politely frustrate you. You know, anyone who's there, anyone who has to have help in their name is there strictly to politely frustrate you. I'm just saying they're probably not going to be that much help, but when they are, they are. Right? When they're informational, they are. That's just me though. That's me on my own gripe about the nature of the nature of people, because the nature of people tends to fascinate me. So while we're fascinated with that, let's see if one last thing we can be fascinated on based on these note cards here. We don't have to talk about the Caitlin Clark effect. I think we all are pretty aware of what the Caitlin Clark effect is, and I had to actually make sure I understood what it was. Like I had a good idea, so I guess we are going to talk about it. I had a good idea about what it was, but I wanted to see what the literary. Oh, I'm getting some of this pulp out here. I wanted to find out what the literary definition was, or what the academic definition was, and it reads refers to the drastic increase in ticket sales and revenue for the University of Iowa and the other universities she travels to. So it's in the same regard as it's in the same regard, right? Coming to see appearance fees. Appearance fees, that's all it is. Caitlin Clark effect is the appearance fees of a college ball game. Even though I said the same thing to somebody about the nature of Michael Jordan. Like I remember got this conversation at a bar stool, for people to feel like athletes shouldn't deserve, or athletes don't deserve this, or athletes deserve this, and this, whatever, right? There's always this level of discrepancy. No one ever feels satisfied, and I think that's part of the problem, right? Is everyone has this understanding of what satisfaction is and is not, and I even had a whole skit about that, right? As far as I'm about to name a cat Satisfaction, just so I can bring him back to life in regards to people having like realistic expectations, right? And a realistic expectation is, if you have a good time at this event, then this event's gonna cause, or this event's gonna raise more monies, right? And so the Caitlin Clark effect being that a celebrity brings more monies. I don't think that's a Caitlin Clark effect, but it's nice. It's nice to have your name on something. You know what I mean? It's nice to have your name associated with a concept that's just basically celebrity endorsement. If I had to read it another way, so we don't have to go deep into it. But I always say that though, the same people. But I will say this. I had. Let me pause. I recently had the surgery of taking my foot out of my mouth when I brought this up at another conversation point, out in public, right on the 103 bus. If you ever want to get your political opinion out to the world and you want people to know what it is, I highly recommend, and I say this jokingly because I do not recommend it at all, is to speak your truth, not the truth, your truth, because your truth is full of crap. All right, in comparison to the truth, and I even say that to myself. I am not. I am not. What's the word I'm looking for? Outside of that, right? I still have times I talk at the side of my neck. It's just a matter of, like I said, knowing yourself enough to know, like, hey, you're talking out the side of your ass, or you're talking out the side of your neck, or you can't breathe. You can't breathe because you're full of it. What was I going on? But yeah, but this is what I said though when I was out and about, um, running my ideas with the world, and I would say, if the same people, and I say the same people because I particularly don't have a horse in the race. I literally when I was growing up, I went to basketball tryouts just to die during the first day. Usually tryouts were 2 days, right? Usually tryouts were Tuesday and Wednesday, and then you found out on Thursday, and then you guys all partied that Friday, to say, hey, I made the team, right? Well, myself, and I knew, right? I was never of. I'm not saying I was never athletic. I'm actually pretty athletic. When I get a good stretch, gotta stretch. But when I actually stretch, I can throw down. I can throw down on some ball. But at the time, and still to this day, you're not gonna catch me doing a whole bunch of running around. That's just not. That's the part where you're gonna see I'm the enforcer, not the not the runner. So I only went to basketball tryouts purely to see how much I could run. And let me tell you, of the coaches that I've tried out under, a part of me feels like they said, "Oh yeah, you gave me attitude last week in math class. I'm definitely gonna make you run your heart out." So anyway, um, with that being said, I always sorry, I'm seeing myself. I can't get to the sun. I never fell out. I never fell out in the middle of the court. I always made it to the end. But let me tell you, I was like you're grasping for straws at this point. And there's no reason why a 14-year-old should ever be that big, breathing that hard. Anyway, um, the same people who talk about the NBA makes more money than the WNBA, or the WNBA is not paying their players at the same rate and fashion. And of course, the next argument, or the next point of that decision, or the next point of that um, discussion is, well, the NBA makes more money, or the NBA brings in more people, yada yada yada. And for me, the same ones who says, well, that doesn't matter. I think they're missing the point. I rarely see someone make the assertion, right? I rarely see someone make the assertion that the WNBA deserves more money and they're wearing a WNBA jersey, right? Or they are speaking upon at a WNBA event. And so the reason why I had this surgery the other day of removing my foot from my mouth was a guy, he actually did tap me on the shoulder at the bar stool at the 103, and with the Las Vegas Aces jersey on. And I said, "See, you are the exact, like he literally, like I said, foot and mouth." Like I said, nice. I put it out there. I said, I had never seen, where's my clipboard? And as soon as you knock the desk over, as soon as you shake the tree, a couple lemons come falling out in the form of this guy in a WNBA jersey. And so I said, see, well, you're part of the solution. You're not part of the problem. You're part of the solution, because I had one individual who they decided to get in my face, and I don't have a lot of time or space for that. People who want to get in my face, and I'm not talking about in my face as in get passionate. I'm not talking about get in my face as in um tell me I'm wrong, or dispute what I have to say. I mean literally in my face. Like if this is my face, you're in my face. Like you're in my face. There's no reason to get in my face. There's none. Um, but anyway, I said, see, there you go. And the thing is, I've never seen, and honestly, I feel like that was God's joke on little old tragic me, right? To be running my mouth like that, because he was wearing a jersey. I personally don't have a jersey. I need to get one. I actually need to get two, because I met a real, when I say a real fan, I'm talking about someone who follows it on the statistical level, who follows it on the story level. Like she follows WNBA on a level that is unmatched by anybody I've ever seen. So let's see what we got here. Hold on. California love. California. Uh, take your party back, California. Take it back. They've all come out here to party and they never left. Tell them to come home. If they know how to party, go party back where you know how to party. Because here in Las Vegas, we have a different set of party rules. As in, no, I don't party every day. No, I actually have to go to work. No, it is not the hangover. Let's see. In the city. Ugh. That's the one thing I will say too. Having this whole experience and doing a spring cleaning. If here's a PSA for you. If you have not, right? If you have not going back into, how often do you change? How often do you change? And I'm saying this as a person. I'm saying this as a being. I'm saying this as a worthy watcher, right? How often do you change? And for me, I feel like one of the things that has to change, not only with the seasons or with one's ideas, is that thing shaking so greatly, or am I tripping? It's shaking. Hold on. There we go. So one thing that I said, oh, I have to definitely change that out, was my dishwasher under here. My dishwasher has a filter. So PSA. Speaking of changing, right? If you're not going to change yourself and you're not going to change your kids, maybe you should change your appliances. Change out your filters of your dishwasher. Clean out your garbage disposals. Clean out your air filters. If you haven't changed your toothbrush, change out your toothbrush. I'm sure you haven't, right? I like honestly, you should be changing out your toothbrush every 100 days, if not every 60 days, depending on where you keep your toothbrush. I don't care. I change mine out every 100 days. Like if you like, I go through 4 toothbrushes in a year, right? And I'm saying that to say like there's just no way. Same thing with whatchamacall, your air filters. Now they say they say that the air filter that you have through your circulation system needs changing every 30 days. So basically every time you pay rent, you change your filter. That right there seems a lot depending on what kind of technology you have. But yeah, change out your filters, change out your liners, right? Change, like, start wiping some stuff down. Like a lot of people out here, in my mind, in my mindset, in my understanding, is now look at that color. That is not that's I got punched in the kidneys, bro. Yellow. Don't ask me how I know this color. I just do. So I will say the coloring of brown sugar lemonade would definitely have someone thinking like, maybe that's not for me, right? Maybe that's not for me. They gave me a blueberry milkshake that was green. I kind of had, like, if someone gave you a strawberry milkshake that was green, you probably wouldn't say anything, right? Because it's strawberry, right? And someone gave you a raspberry milkshake that was white, you probably wouldn't say anything. If you give me a blueberry milkshake and it's green, if I was green, I would blue, I would die, because that's not blueberry. How's blue? Like, how did you get blue? Like, which that kind of makes me question stuff too, right? Like is it dark berries that get like blueberry and blackberry? Like blue and black are colors, right? But straw's not a color, raspberry is not a color. I'm trying to think. Poison is not a color, unless poison is a color. I don't know. But it kind of goes back to like orange, like, is orange is orange a color? Is orange a flavor? Or is orange a? But see, it's all of those, right? Orange is orange is orange. Orange is the color. Orange is the flavor. Orange is a color. Orange is a flavor. Orange is a fruit. But is a fruit a flavor, or is a flavor a fruit? And is it orange because of the flavor, or is it orange because of the color? It's not that serious. It is not that serious. I'm just saying, as far as these are little things that come about. I'm just letting that melt off a little bit, because like I said, this right here is definitely a different color, right, than I would ever promote in a lemonade. It's more like a broth. If I just taste it now, though, it actually doesn't taste that bad. It's just hot. It's just hot. It's just hot. That's it. It's just hot. And hot lemonade is almost like hot Gatorade. It's the same. Like, it's the same. Yeah, see, when it's cold, it's bearable. When it's cold, it's bearable. Ugh. Well, let's go ahead down, and I'm gonna go ahead and break down this station. I'm gonna let these lemons sit. Like I said, sit for another 2 hours. Because it usually takes me. So it usually does take me to do this whole box of lemons. Like if they weren't already prepped and everything, and I didn't have all of this, I did do the calculation for the last squeezing session. The last squeezing session did take about 6 hours of active, right? 6 hours of active work, which that's how you come out to be. That's how you come out with 8 hours though. And I mean, as far as um roles and distinctions, that's how you come out with 8 hours. But I'm gonna let these sit and get a little bit more room temperature going for them. I'll turn this off. Turn this off and pick up a muffin. Get me another muffin. For do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. Can't get rid of some of the classics, man. And I think that's one reason why we're due for another renaissance. And I say that, and I say renaissance, I'm saying there's been a shakeup in there's been a shakeup in the entertainment world that just kind of makes me curious. I like how they say ingredient cane sugar. It's like, well, what's in cane sugar? Cane sugar. And see, I'm sorry, I'm looking at. I love how it's. That's one thing I am going to do. I ended up getting a lot of inspiration, not only just from this project or from this on taking, but going down the rabbit hole. Like I said, being able to kind of get a food lab going, because of course you already know what the next step is. We're paddling some fruit, or we're zesting some fruit. I ended up liking this one. I'm going to end up returning the other one just because it's smaller. Like it's like slightly smaller. Like it's like that much smaller than this one, so it doesn't give me as much, but it gives me the same. It's going to give me the same result. I mean, there's only so many ways you can cut those holes, right? As far as being extra fine and being a microplaner, which I realize that microplaner is a brand, whereas a rasp, right? This is a rasp tool. Microplaner is a brand of a microplaner, right? They've gotten the market of saying like, oh, like say like a sawzall, right, or a reciprocating saw. There's a reciprocating saw and then there's a sawzall. So this is a reciprocating saw, but the sawzall of a microplaner. Hopefully you picked up what I was throwing down there, but when we start looking at those, like that package had some recipes. This package has a recipe like I see right here. That lemon poppy seed pound cake. That pound cake. 1 tablespoon of lemon zest. See, I already got that. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm telling you. Oh, and 4th cup lemon syrup. 4th cup squishly lemon juice. And then the glaze is powdered sugar and 3 teaspoons of freshly screened lemon juice. I might actually cut that out. I think I might actually have everything that's on here. I don't have poppy seeds or anything like that. You know what? We can talk about stuff or we can do stuff. See? Why on earth? It's only a little bit of sugar in there. I'll just throw the rest of it in there. I mean, it's already there, right? It's already there. And these guys have the same qualities I like and same qualities that I love, which is just being able to have a natural being. So maybe we might do that. We might cook a lemon poppy seed pound cake. Why? Because we can. And who knows? Maybe lemon seed poppy cake will be all the rage this fall. But I'm not sure where to end off on this particular note. Like I said, for me, a lot of times, this is just the essence of figuring out the next step, right? Or exploring some of these things. Next time you'll see me, I'll probably be halfway zesting or halfway through zesting these lemons for the next batch. I think tomorrow, because it is Friday, thank God it's Friday, even within an hour or so, right? I think what we're going to do is we are going to find a bigger pot. We're going to find a bigger pot to make bigger batches, right? And probably bigger batches, and then get this party started, because like I said, there's only so many variations of there's only so many different variations and ratios and techniques you can use to make lemonade, right? Lemonade is lemonade. But it's definitely gonna be best for the show because the writing is coming together, right? Tragic writing has taken on a level that it just makes me laugh, right? It makes me pull out a whole clipboard. I won't pull out the clipboard anymore. I won't pull out the clipboard because when we pull out the clipboard, we get serious, right? We went from being a player to a producer when you bring out the clipboard. So we'll keep that flag, or we'll keep that we'll keep that playbook to the side. But this lemonade is not too bad. Like I said, brown sugar lemonade. The only reason with brown sugar, it's just thicker. Yeah, see, I need that to melt, and it's recognizing. That's what I'm saying. It's still hot. It's still warm. Like it's still like basically like it's like hot. It's hot. It's hot. It's hot lemon juice. Uh, and that's that's the those are the those are the faces of disgust, right? But when we start looking at what we got to turn up, what we got to turn down, we're the end game is not polite and nice at all. Is that lemon juice? Did lemon juice get on my ceiling? How did that happen? It sure did. Wow. Wow. I must have swung something anyway. Anyway, sorry, I was just like there. I just saw lemon up there. Anyway, yeah, but polite polite and nice is not polite and nice is not the that's not the way to a good society. Polite and nice is not the way to a good society. And I'm even fumbling in the words that I say that because it just makes it's making it makes me tick. it makes me tick in thought to think like nah. Like have you guys ever seen? I started rewatching. I just can't get into South Park the same way anymore. The same way I used to. I think I think they found their niche and they're working in it. You know what I mean? Like Matt and Trey are working in it, but it's not the same, and it's not the same, right? And nothing's the same though, right? Everything has changed, and it's a matter of what's changing, what you're willing to change about yourself. And if you really can't even sit back and realize that I have hurt myself, or I am hurting myself, right? Like if you can't stand back and take a recognition to that, those are the kind of things, and those are kind of the distinctions of of questioning the health of people, right? Questioning the health of people, because if you can't even recognize that you're hurting yourself, like you can't even recognize that you're hurting yourself, or you can't recognize that I'm hurt, right? Then when do I stop being polite? When do I stop being nice? When do I start being kind and getting a recognition? 'Cause I even wrote that down too. I said, how important is recognition? And recognition is almost as high, if not as near, as respect. Because if you don't even recognize something, right, or you don't acknowledge something, then it's a matter of, well, does it exist? And that kind of goes back into like a plain pain and measure metric, right? Are you in pain? Are you in pleasure? Are you present right now? Because let me tell you, if you're in pleasure, you're probably not present. If you're in pain, you're probably not in present. And so that equilibrium, right? The equilibrium to be in the present, but to realize that you want to change, right? You're trying to change to minimize the pain or change to increase the pleasure, right? That sounds like you're fighting two fronts, and not to get historical, but when you fight two fronts, it doesn't always turn out to be the best solution, right? Or it doesn't turn out to be the smartest solution, or it doesn't turn out to be a solution that you want to be in favor of. That's not a position you want to be in, right? And that's where polite and nice come into play. Is like these are states. Those are states, right? When we talk about building a better society or a good society, we have to start in kindness. And I think that's where we are leaving off um on this. I think everything is turned off, everything's cleaned up, things are melting in, melting out. Right, like right now we're drinking this lemonade down because it's just like I said, it's kind of like hot lemon water. But we're gonna go and finish writing the rest of these papers. Like I said, celebrating the start, right, the start of the next journey in education, um, or the next journey in skills training, to maneuver, right, to maneuver and increase the viability of my enthusiasm, right? And I'm talking about my personal enthusiasm because that's where we're at right now. Is the name of the game is attitude and enthusiasm. Because by the sounds of it, right? Computers are taking over the world. I know, and that's all I have, right? Like I like that's a face that's inside, but can't help but come outside when people start talking goofy, right? Because I can understand goofy. I can understand goofy. I can understand crazy. I can understand out of this world. I can even understand idiocracy every now and then. Like I can understand certain things, but then there comes a certain point that I have to ask people to myself, well, who told you that? Even myself, like when I sit here and tout a truth in my mind, or tout a truth, in one's mind, right? Like that's against the law. Says who? Reads where? By whose hand? like you're really gonna have me in this in this way to think like I'm about I'm here to attack your king, right? That's it. It's just a game shift, right? It's just a game shift. So don't tease the truth, right? Don't tease the truth. Go in for the kill, but the best way to kill is with kindness, and that's like I said, that's why I'm coming all the way back to. We are now coming into a society of lemons, a society of change, a society of squeezing and wheezing. You got to stretch before. Don't go squeezing when you haven't stretched, because you go squeezing something that hasn't been stretched. Let me tell you, you're not gonna get that much juice out of it. You drank all of it, remember? Oh yeah, that's right. But nonetheless, y'all take care of yourself, okay? Get plenty of water, get plenty of rest. Be sure to look to your left, look to your right, to those that you love, those that you like, and maybe those you just can't stand. If you can't love them, let them know that God does, because God does. God loves them. God will love them. God loves you. Love yourself in the way that God sees you. you know that is something that has gotten me through and beyond some of these little hurdles and hoops, right? But these hurdles and hoops come in the way from potential, because the potential can't be made, it can't be created, it can only be in use. So use what you got and be happy about it. Just be happy about it.